So YouTube is pretty, and to be fair, social media in general is very rampant with all the talk about physical media versus digital media, physical video games versus digital video games, which is better. A lot of people have their opinions. This isn't the video I was going to make, but I was going to be on vacation for a week. I'm gone this week presently, and I felt like this was something I've been thinking about for a while that I didn't really know how to touch on because, to be honest, I don't really have the opinion that everyone else does. I feel like there's a lot of negativity on social media, and I'm sure you guys are aware. I'm sure you see it, and I'm sure that it can be kind of bothersome to get on there and see all that. Or even on YouTube, you see the clickbait thumbnails, and you see the people just jumping to conclusions, and it can get kind of frustrating. I kind of just want to talk about my thoughts on the whole thing today. I'm just going to play some Mario Party if y'all are cool with it, some good old Mario Party 6, and talk about like just my personal thoughts on the physical versus digital side of things and where everything is going with that. What I want to say first right off the bat is I am not the creator or the type of person that's going to give you any kind of any kind of hate or shade for feeling differently than how I feel. We're all humans. We're human beings. We're not going to feel the same way about everything. If you prefer only physical and you're like, hey, I'm hardcore physical, I don't buy any digital games, I've never bought one, I don't plan on it, if games go all digital, I'll just step away from gaming as a whole or only play retro gaming, that's fine. If you're the opposite and you're like, hey, I never buy physical games, I don't like keeping up with them, I don't like putting them on the shelf, they take up space, I only buy digital, I'm tired, like I don't want to hear all the crap about physical, that's cool too. That's your opinion, and I totally respect that. All I'm asking is that everyone, and I'm sure this is YouTube, so I'm sure people will do it anyways, but just, I want this to be kind of a space to talk it out for people that feel all different ways. And I'm personally in the middle, and I know that that's going to draw some criticism. I know that that's going to be, it's going to draw criticism, and a lot of people are going to say, man, you got to pick a side. You can't sit on the fence. That people are like that with everything for some reason, whether it's religion, politics, stuff I'm not going to get into, but you get the idea that, okay, I guess I'll go this way. But just with anything, people don't want you to be at the middle. They don't want you to be neutral. They want to know whether or not they can support you and be on your side, or if they know that they need to hate on you and take a giant dump on you because you don't feel the same way. Personally, I lean more towards physical as a preference. Obviously, that's, I grew up in the GameCube, PS2, Xbox generation. So, I like physical. And I'm a collector. I like having something on the shelf. I like being able to look at the box art, the manual, everything on there. Of course, he's going to go straight for me. I like having something on there just to hold and look at and say, hey, like this is part of my collection. Like it's complete in box if I can. At the same time, I understand like gaming is changing, the world changes, gaming changes, hobbies change, like music has went from physical to very heavily, like everyone uses music for streaming. And I know that still people collect, vinyls and records for stuff like that. And that's cool, but that's music. And for movies, I feel like movies have been the worst about, like, I collect some physical DVDs and like TV shows and stuff to watch, but it's mainly like older stuff or less popular stuff that's not always on streaming services, or they're on those streaming services that are like way out there. It's like nobody's ever heard of, but you have to get it if you want to watch one particular show or movie. But as far as gaming goes, it just kind of feels like people are very, like, when music and movies went to streaming, and maybe it's because I'm not part of those hobbies or those communities, but I feel like they never had the pushback that gaming has had. Gaming is far and away, I feel like, and again, that could be my own personal bias, it feels like it's the space and the medium with the most pushback, the most just people not wanting to go to streaming. And I feel like that's why it's held out this long. Yes, there is still plenty of, no, I don't want to ride the fluff. There's still plenty of digital media. But you look at people like, and I think it's a perfect time to talk about it with, and I know I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm a big Nintendo fan. big Nintendo guy, and I know sometimes I can gas up some of their stuff, and I don't agree with everything that they do. None of the big three companies are perfect. Xbox does stuff that I like and stuff that I don't like. Sony does stuff that I like and that I don't like. And Nintendo, of all of them, they do a lot of things that I really love. They're responsible for a lot of my core gaming memories. But sometimes they do stuff that it's a little bit of a head scratcher. I'm like, why? why does that have to be that way? Oh gosh, Yoshi almost killed me. But one of the things I've been really split on lately, and I'm sure you probably know where this is going, is the whole game key card. With the game key card, listen, and I know I'm not the most knowledgeable on this subject, so again, this is more opinion than fact. I'm not the most knowledgeable. I try to learn what I can and keep an ear out and an eye out for info and tidbits when it comes in. I try to follow some people on social media. I try to look at the right gaming journalism pages and the websites and do some of my own research. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to know everything. Info changes. There's a lot of misinfo out there. That's the biggest thing we have going on, especially with the Switch 2, is there's a ton of misinfo. And look, guys, I'll be honest. I work at a game store, and the amount of people that I get coming into the store that just start spewing nonsense, and I'm like, it's not even remotely true. And most of the time, they're pretty cool about they realize that, okay, yeah, you probably know more than I do. I just saw that from someone shared that. I didn't actually look into it. But then every now and then you still have people that will double down and like, no, I know this. Like, my favorite YouTuber said this, or they just don't want to admit that they're wrong. I've had people come into my store saying, Switch only plays digital games. You can't play physical games. Or say, you can't play pre-owned games on a Switch 2. Move out. Okay, really? I got blocked in by Waluigi. Are you kidding me? I literally could not move out of the way. My model was stuck. And Yoshi just walked. Okay. I guess that's what I get for playing with the CPU. I guess we're all losing whatever it is. I wasn't paying attention. Probably coins. But I have people that come and say, oh, you can't play pre-owned games. You can only buy new, or you can only buy digital. Or, with the whole thing that's like, I guess it was half your coins. Or that, when they say that, oh, you only license games, you don't own them. To a degree, yes, that's true. But then I have people that take it to the extreme, like, oh, well, when you can't buy games anymore, you're only renting them. The Switch will only let you rent games. And it's just random crazy stuff. And to be fair, I've seen that with PlayStation and Xbox before. But it's just really this phase with the Switch. And being a Switch fan, I think it bothers me more. I always try to point out misinfo whenever I can. But, it's just, having worked at a game store for, honestly, I worked at 2 game stores. My last 2 jobs have been game stores. And, but I'm at this one now, currently, I'm having a lot of issues with that. And with the game key cards, it's confusing a lot of people. Is it physical? Is it digital? I mean, it's a physical card that you can put in, so that makes it physical, right? Well, no, because all the info's not on there. You still have to download, stuff from the, and a lot of times be connected to the internet. So it's digital, right? It's not physical. You can't resell it or trade it. Once you put it in, it's gone. Well, not entirely. You can trade them or give them away. So obviously that's going to create a little bit of confusion. And rightfully so. It's going to be odd. Also, I missed the star, so that's cool. Thanks, Bowser. Or actually, I should be thanking Waluigi for getting in my way and blocking me in. But just with the game key card, and me personally, I don't even really know how to feel, honestly. Game key cards, I will say, and again, this may be a popular or unpopular opinion. At the very least, they're better than a freaking code in a box. Like, my wife really wanted to play Split Fiction, and when I saw that Split Fiction was coming to Switch 2, I'm like, hey, let's get Split Fiction. And I was going to get it, and I saw that it was a download code in a box. I'm like, you know what? Not paying full price $60 for a download code in a box, and then just an empty box that sit on the shelf. At the very least, at least give me like a placebo effect. Like, at least give me something. Like, give me, even if the game key card is empty and there's nothing on it, give me something so I can display something. Like, not just an empty box. Why put the little slot in the box for a card to go in when there's no card there? It's just an empty box. That's all it is. I don't know. It's really frustrating. And I know that that's not all Nintendo's fault. To be honest, Nintendo, I mean, at least they're offering that game key card. Like I said, it's not the preferred option. The preferred option, like Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was all physical, and I was kind of shocked because of the size of it. But what I've since learned is that with how that works is that Nintendo offers different sizes of cards, and I think right now, at least the time I'm filming this, I know there's a bigger, like a 64 card or something, because I'm pretty sure 64 gigabyte, because I'm pretty sure that's what Cyberpunk released on, because it had to be that big. I guess my thinking is that if people have a smaller game, they don't want to pay the bigger price for that cartridge to put their game on if it's not going to, like a lot of people were upset at Bravely Default when it got announced as a game key card. And people are like, why? It's like such a tiny game. Are you telling me you can't put that on a cartridge? And then when Street Fighter, people are like, oh, well, that makes sense. It's a bigger game. When now it's really the opposite when you look at it, is that Street Fighter could have filled up the majority of that cartridge and made it worth their money. Whereas, yes, Bravely Default, getting a big giant cartridge like that and paying for that for such a small game would have been a little silly. So it's almost like the script has been flipped and now the opposite makes sense. I'm glad he got the tree. I'm glad he tickled it enough to make it sneeze. What I want to say, my main gist that I wanted to get out was that with all of this, yes, I don't love game key cards. Like, for example, I think I pre-ordered the new Madden. I'm a sports fan, so Madden, I wanted to get it on Switch 2 and try it out because playing it on the go seemed really cool. But also, I'm pretty sure it's a game key card. So, like, will you really be able to play it on the go? You can play it on the go if you're connected to Wi-Fi, but like, let's say you're in a car or you're taking over someone's house and, maybe you don't have their password, or I don't know, you're at grandma and grandpa's and they don't have Wi-Fi. Are you really going to be able to play it? Because with a game key card, you have to have it in the system. You have to download everything that's required, but you have to keep the game in the system to even play it and open up the application. And you still have to be connected to the Wi-Fi. Also, that was a waste of my block, my mushroom. So thanks a lot. And with with the game key cards and the download codes in the box, that's frustrating. And another example is I'm also a wrestling fan, and when I heard that the new WWE 2K25, it's coming to Switch 2, awesome, cool. Guess what? They couldn't even do a game key card. They couldn't even do that. I was about to pre-order that. For one, I didn't appreciate how, being a yearly game, those games depreciate in value so much. Like, you'll pay $70 for the game at launch. 2 months later, it's on sale for like $40-$50, and then a month after that, it's half price. When the time comes for the next game to come out, next thing you know, it's like $20. And then if you wait even longer and, the newest new game is out and there's 2 games ahead of it, you're going to get it for like $10 or under. And it's just a little ridiculous. And for WWE 2K, and first of all, that could be a whole nother rant separate of itself. I do not care for 2K at all. It's just, they're one of my and it sucks that they make the WWE games that I love. And it's why I have a hard time playing. I used to be a big NBA 2K fan, and that, again, rant for another day. I'm not getting on that. But for a yearly game that's been out several months already into its life cycle, it came out in March. So for it to release and Switch 2 in July, that's what, 4 months later, which means we're only 8 months away from the next game, and you're going to still charge the full $70 when it's not even a full $70 for that new price on PlayStation or Xbox. I've seen it in our store brand new for like $50. $50 I would have paid for it and got that's fine. But it's just ridiculous, man. And then of all things, for it to be a code, I'm like, no thanks. Why get a box to put on the shelf for a piece of paper that it's going to be useful for one time, and then nothing else after that. I'm just gonna, if I'm gonna get the game, I'll wait for it to go on sale on the eShop and just download it that way. So at least I don't feel as insulted by a lame empty box. And that's the biggest gripe I have, is just with the download codes in the box. That's, you know, there's nothing more deflating when you're excited for a game. You go into the shop to get it. Hopefully you read the box and find out that it's, you know, there's not an actual cartridge in there, and you don't get home and figure it out. But even then, if you figure it out in the store, that can be a little deflating. And that gets into where the physical versus digital. Some people, that would be like, you know, I don't buy download codes in the box. I do have a game key card. I bought Yakuza 0, which I'm honestly really loving. And like I said, I'm planning on pre-ordering, I got Madden, and I'm sure there'll be other games. I think a lot of third-party games will do it. I don't believe that any first-party Nintendo games are going to be doing it, which is good. But I think there are going to be a lot of third-party games I can see doing that. And then it's just, you know, it is what it is. I'm of the party that's, I really don't prefer it, and I'm kind of annoyed by it. But at the same time, like, some people say, go on strike, don't buy the games, that's the only way you can show them. Yes, if everyone did that. If everyone did that, yes. But I know that not everyone's going to do that. And maybe it sounds doom and gloom to be like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm just going to give in to what these companies want because I know that no one else is going to stand up, so I'm not going to stand up either. And my thing is like, and maybe this is kind of a silly thing to say, but it's just how I feel, is that life is too short to play bad games and to not play good ones. Life is too short to waste on things like that. I mean, if I'm going to be honest, like if a game comes out in a series or something that I'm excited about or that I enjoy, I'm going to get the game. I'm not going to be like as enthused about it. And sure, if I'm telling people about the game or referring people about it or reviewing it, you know, on the video, I'll say, yeah, it kind of stinks that it's a game key card or a download code. But, I mean, I'm still going to want to play the game. I'm not going to not buy the game just because of that. If I'm on the fence about it and it's a game that kind of like Split Fiction, you know, I'm sure I'll play it eventually. But it was going to be like when I got my Switch, it was going to be a day one purchase. And then I still haven't got it because I'm like, no, I'll wait for it to go and sell in the eShop. And it hasn't. So I'm like, well, you know, to my knowledge, it hasn't, at least when I've checked. So I just don't feel like getting that because I don't want a download code in a box to throw away and then an empty box on the shelf. And I'm not going to pretend like I don't play digital games. This whole thing is not to just dog and just take a dump on digital games, because I have lots of digital games on PlayStation. When I first got I'll say my Xbox is a Series S, so it only plays digital games, but that was because it was a gift. It was a Christmas gift by my wife, and I was super happy for it. I was excited. I wasn't going to throw a hissy fit and a tantrum and be like, oh my gosh, you should have got me the X so I can play physical games. Plus, that one's more expensive, and, you know, I have a PS5 that plays discs, so it's fine. That's just for Game Pass. That's to play with my friends that, you know, have Xboxes. And, you know, it's probably out of my 3 consoles, probably the one that I use the least. But I still try to use it. I still try to make good and get my money's worth, or her money's worth for it. And I'm very appreciative of that. My PS5, when it came out, I had been trying to get in all those queues and all the, you know, the PlayStation things to try to get the, you know, you had to wait in line and have your credit card info ready. And a lot of teams, like the scalpers were getting in and hacking and getting all of them. And they were selling for like $1,000. I was trying so hard to get one of them. I wanted the physical one. And oddly enough, my grandma got an invite, and she got in and got one. And she was like, hey, you know, it's a early birthday present. You know, you can go ahead and have it when it comes in. But I was the only one I was able to get you was digital. I wasn't going to be like, oh my gosh, and be so upset. I got a digital. I played it for a couple years. And when the PS5 Slim came out, you know, like they had the ones bundled with Spider-Man 2. When that one came out, I traded in my original digital PS5, got the physical version of the Slim with Spider-Man 2, and now I can play physical games. I use it for my movies and my TV shows, and I love it. It's awesome. I love having the physical games. It helps with the download sizes at times. And yes, I know there's a lot of games that Sony does that with too. where you'll put the game in and you have to have the disc in, but all the data is still online. There's like not a lot of info on the game disc. So, you know, and I know there's an account that a lot of people probably follow on social media called, it's like, does it play or something. They're dedicated to the preservation of offline and physical media, which is a very noble thing, very good for that to exist. And they're very thorough with their research. We've had a couple interactions, some good, some bad, just in the sense that, you know, I guess I don't care about it as much as they do, where it's like they're willing to just get all up in arms and just like throw down the whole company if they put out a digital game or a game that's not 100% offline, physical. And I get there's things like, okay, 20 years later, is a game still going to be playable offline? Or for people that don't have Wi-Fi, is it going to be playable? And, you know, and I get like a lot of, you know, one popular opinion or argument of the digital players is that as the kids say, it's big 2025. Who doesn't have Wi-Fi? You know, and again, there's a lot of rural areas that don't. So, you know, oh, I'm getting close though. And so my thing with that is just that, yes, I want games to be playable as long as possible. I would love games to be, you know, 100% offline, never needing updates to play or required stuff like that. I love that. But I don't know if that's going to be a realistic reality for us to live in. I just think that with all mediums, gaming is going to get increasingly more digital. I mean, look at Xbox. They're pretty solely reliant on Game Pass. And that's another thing. This is kind of a little bit off topic, sort of. You would not believe the amount of people that I get that complain, like in the store, that complain about digital media, but then they're Xbox fans. Like, you realize that your company was the one that kind of kickstarted that and has done, like, they're reliant on digital media. They're pushing this whole digital media thing. I got a guy coming in maybe this was like a month or two ago, and it was this big, it was right around when the ROG Ally thing got announced, and it was talking about how, like, what a great deal it was and it's worth every penny, and that when it comes out, it was going to put the Switch out of business, and that it was going to, like, dominate the market, and then it was also going to be better than the Portal. And my thinking is, like, who's going to buy that outside of people that are already Xbox fans? Like, I don't think people that own the Switch or that are, like, PlayStation fans are going to just be like, oh my gosh, the ROG Ally X or whatever it's called, you know, I'm going to get that. Especially with the price. You know, I think playing the Steam game, and to be fair, I need to put it out there, I hope that it does well. I hope it does good. I hope people enjoy it and it plays well, you know, for the sake of the creators, the developers, the people out there that are fans. I want it to do well. I want to see it succeed. I think competition should exist. It makes other people and other gaming companies work harder and work better, and we don't want to see a monopoly. As much as I love Nintendo, if they were the only company making games, I don't think that would be the best for business. I still think they do a good job and make some pretty cool, incredible games, but I think we can all agree that is not what the gaming industry needs to see. We need competition in anything. Look in any industry, you need competition. Competition makes things better. And so, like I said earlier, I'm not going to pretend like I don't play digital games. I have a ton of them on the Switch eShop. You know, there's been plenty of times I've been guilty of wanting a game physically, and most of the time it's cheaper physically. You know, it'll go on sale more often. You can trade it in. You can share it with a friend. You know, you have it on the shelf to display. You can sell it. You can do whatever you want to it. It's, you know, there's a lot of benefits to it. You can't always do that with digital. And yet sometimes, you know, I don't know why the screen flickered. Sometimes there's still occasions where a game goes on sale on an eShop or on the Microsoft Store, PlayStation Store, whatever, you know, the console is. And then I'm like, you know what? I gotta do it. Like, I get impatient. Some games I am very, like, if it's like a first-party Nintendo game, if it's, you know, any series I'm really into, like Mario, Zelda, Pikmin, even on PlayStation, like Metal Gear Solid, Resident Evil with the Silent Hill game, Silent Hill 2. Some of those, you know, also I just realized that it went to widescreen in the middle of the game. But I'm very like, hey, I want those physical. If it's a game that I'm like a yearly game, like if it's a Madden or it's a college football, wrestling, sometimes it's just easier to get that on digital. So it kind of depends. But I know I've ranted a while, so I'll try to wrap it up. But basically, my whole gist was that I love physical. I hope physical sticks around. And I think to sum up the whole video is, I am 100% supportive behind physical and digital being an option, being, two separate options. Digital is a perfectly fine, very useful, and appropriate option to have. I don't think it should be the only forced one. I don't see why, and I know it comes down to money or just laziness, maybe sometimes, I don't know, by companies. Just make a physical cartridge and then put the game digitally on the shop so that people can pick whichever one they want. I think if that was the case, that would satisfy everyone. That would be completely fine. The problem is when people start getting forced to get digital, and they don't want digital because digital, the game, there's been too many cases of games being taken down, games not being supported, especially if it's online games, different scenarios like that, then that kind of kills the game, and people don't want that. So and I know I'm a small YouTuber. This might completely flop and get like 30 views. But at the same time, if there's anybody out there watching, listen, the two things to take away from here. If you're a gamer, have an opinion, formulate some, even if you're like me in the middle, just kind of like think about physical versus digital. If you have a preference, if you don't have a preference, that's fine. But just, I guess, kind of just be aware, and kind of like when you're making purchases and when you're trying to game, just kind of be knowledgeable, I guess. And then if you're a game developer or something of the sort, just like, hey, just give people an option, man. Just give people an option and let them at least be able to choose, because nobody likes being told what to pick or being forced how to play their games. That's just the beauty of gaming, is that there's so many different ways to do it. But anyways, I'll leave y'all with that. Sorry that I rambled so long. It just really felt like that had been bothering me. I kid you not, the other day I spent like my whole entire shower thinking about that, because I felt like it was just something I wanted to make a video on, even if it was just a kind of an unscripted rant. So thank you guys for watching. Appreciate y'all. Like I said, go buy physical or digital, whichever you prefer. Just be aware of both. And the other thing was, don't give hate and start spewing crap to people that don't agree with how you feel or believe the opposite side of you. We're all gamers at heart. Let's bond over that. There's way too much negativity on here and Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, TikTok. There's different generations. We should just be happy that generations are getting into gaming. And yes, we need to preserve it and make sure that everyone can still play games in 20, 30 years. Whether it's through physical media or emulation or some remakes, however you want to fill in the blank, that we can do these things and be able to enjoy these great games that are being put out every year and every decade. So thank y'all so much. Go watch some of my other stuff. My next video that I plan on making, that was supposed to be this week, it's gonna hopefully be a pretty cool Legend of Zelda video. And then of course I'm getting ready for the Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater Delta, remake of Snake Eater, so that'll be cool. Anyways, peace out y'all, have a good one.